Hello there, my lovelies. Welcome back to my channel, Boomy Reactions. For those of you who are new, my name's Boomy, and thank you for watching. Now today, guys, we have another terrifying tornado video that I'll be watching with you today. These do actually put the fear of God in me. I will definitely be making sure I visit the US outside of hurricane season, because naturally, we don't experience, we do get tornadoes in the UK, like I said a few times, but nowhere near the scale. They're high winds to us most of the time. They're not as destructive. They're not as big. They're not as, the winds don't reach the same speeds. Just generally kind of much more minimized. So naturally, they're, I want to say a source of interest, like a source of speculation in a more human kind of way, just because we don't ever really experience anything like it. So it's shocking to say the least. And I feel like I'm watching these videos in absolute horror, like as they unfold and as all the information is reeled off. It's almost unbelievable. Like if you weren't watching footage from it, I think you'd struggle. For those living outside of the US or anywhere that experiences tornadoes like this, I think if you didn't see it through the news or through videos, you would struggle to believe that such violent weather formations actually happen. But of course they do. And they are beyond frightening. Yes. So today's video has been requested by one of my lovely patrons. This is from Soy. Thank you so much, my lovely. Right, so the title of this video is The First Fire Tornado Ever Recorded. So this was, give me a little bit of a insight over there. So this is California in 2018. I think I vaguely remember seeing this on the news. Oh, that's what a fire tornado is. Okay, so when I read the title, I was a little bit confused as to what a fire tornado is. Am I right in thinking that this is a tornado that takes place at the same time? It's just so unbelievably unlucky. Or maybe luck has nothing to do with it. Maybe there's, similarities in the weather that kind of results in this combination of a tornado and a wildfire. But yeah, they happen at the same time. Now, I remember this happening, and I remember it because it was called the Carr fire initially. Was that right? And I remember being really, really confused at the time because I kept hearing it referred to as the Carr fire. And in my mind, I'm thinking, a car fire, yes, like, a car that sets alight through vandalism most of the time, maybe, or an accident. And I kept thinking for quite a long time that it was referring to a car fire. And it really, really confused me. Okay, it wasn't until quite a bit later that I realized, no, that's actually the name of the place. Yes, yeah, I was the subject of an awful lot of jokes back home then for that. So it is a big wildfire. It's a wildfire that took place in a place called Carr. And a tornado happened at the same time. That's the stuff of nightmares. That is actually apocalyptic. I know I keep describing as tornadoes as looking apocalyptic. But that, oh my gosh, like I can't even imagine. That must have looked like a hellscape. Absolutely terrifying. Let's get on with the video, guys, because I've already done an awful lot of talking. I say that every video. Yes, I chat a lot. I do. Guys, if you're enjoying these reactions, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much, my lovelies. If you're interested, I have a Buy Me a Coffee account. That link is over here. And if you would like to help support my channel any further, I have a Patreon account. And if you want to check that out at all, that link is in the description just below there. Right, okay, oh gosh, more horror unfolding. Let's see.
July 26th, 2018. A tornado just formed.
So is that just at the end of tornado season? Am I right in thinking, does tornado season end in July?
Inside a wildfire.
Just as you're expecting to be safe from it, maybe.
911, your emergency.
I'm in a dozer. All the windows got blown out. I got my curtains down. I can't last too long here.
Okay, if you can get out safely, get out, okay?
I can't. I have to have a ride out of here. All on fire around it.
143 miles per hour, 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit, 18,000 feet tall.
The fire tornado exploded in the middle of what was already a gigantic, devastating wildfire. It was so unusual that even Cal Fire investigators are still struggling to completely understand it.
The National Weather Service had never issued a warning for anything like it. Fire crews on the ground had never trained for it. Scientists had never documented one inside the United States before, and it was moving directly toward a city of 90,000 people.
Oh my gosh. What was this categorized as? I'm sure they're going to tell us in the video. I would have imagined that this combination of natural disasters hasn't happened before, within human memory anyway. So is this the first tornado of its kind? Or the title is, the first fire tornado. So is this the first one ever recorded? I can't imagine like a more horrible combination. Is it naive of me to have assumed that maybe the wind would have extinguished the fire? That's a stupid thing to say. I apologize, but we don't experience many wildfires. We do actually have them in the UK, more frequently with climate change, but not very often. So I don't know what is the fire in a forest fire. I don't know what the nature of it is like. Is that silly to assume it could maybe be extinguished by wind?
This is the story of the first documented fire tornado in United States history.
Wow.
Oh my God.
But to understand how a wildfire builds a tornado, you have to go back 3 days, because what happened in Redding wasn't just a wildfire. It was
like
the exact set of conditions needed to create something no one had seen before.
The third fiery
The region sits in the northern Sacramento Valley, wedged between mountain ranges on both sides. In spring, cool, moist air rolls in from the Pacific, but by July, that picture changes completely.
I just want to highlight how awesome this narrator's voice is. Cool air had begun. It's got such a cool voice.
As that same air descends the eastern slopes of the mountains, it loses its moisture rapidly. What reaches the valley floor is hot, bone-dry air that acts like a furnace, pulling moisture out of vegetation, out of soil, out of everything it touches. By midsummer, the hillsides around Redding are covered in dry grass and brittle brush. It is, in every sense of the word, a powder keg.
Yeah.
The summer of 2018 had been particularly punishing.
When we expect some of the peak heat to hit in parts of the California Central Valley, we're expecting that sunshine and really this ridge of high pressure, the classic setup for a heat wave. And so we just continue day after day to bring those temperatures up.
After a prolonged drought from 2012 to 2016, a brief wet period had encouraged dense vegetation growth across Northern California.
Oh gosh.
By 2018, all of that new growth had dried out completely. There was more fuel on the ground than there had been in years. A record-breaking heat wave pushed temperatures in Redding to over 110 degrees Fahrenheit for days on end.
Help a Brit out here, guys. What's that in Celsius? I should grab my phone. Right, I'm going to convert it. I should just have this on hand for every single video. Convert 110 Fahrenheit. It's basically like 44 degrees Celsius. Oh my gosh. That's like desert weather. That's just beyond uncomfortably hot.
On July 26th itself, the thermometer in Redding reached 113 degrees. The air was so dry, so superheated, that it was already doing half the fire's work before a single flame touched it. All it needed was a spark. On the afternoon of July 23rd, A vehicle towing a travel trailer was driving along State Route 299 near Carr Powerhouse Road, west of Reading.
Carr, not to be confused with a car. Okay.
One of the trailer's tires blew out. The steel rim scraped the pavement. The sparks it generated ignited dry vegetation along the highway's edge almost instantly. The Carr fire had begun. In its first 2 days, the Carr fire was large but manageable, spreading uphill through the dry hills west of Reading while crews worked to cut containment lines. Difficult terrain and steep slopes complicated the effort, but the fire was not yet the monster it was about to become. That changed on July 26th, and everything accelerated. A powerful weather system to the north began pushing strong winds southward across the region. These winds didn't just fan the existing fire, they fundamentally changed its character. By approximately 5:30 p.m., the Carr fire transitioned from a fuel-dominated fire, where terrain and vegetation dictate movement, to a wind-driven fire, where the wind itself becomes the engine.
So, I suppose the kind of extinguishing I would be thinking of naively is that would be assuming that the air is dry, like maybe it's a little bit more humid, and then maybe that stood a chance at extinguishing the fire. But this air is bone dry, so all it's going to do is what, kind of feed the flames and carry them? Is that right?
This is one of the most dangerous states a wildfire can enter, and almost no one on the ground realized it had already reached that point. The fire exploded eastward and downhill, racing toward the western suburbs of Reading at terrifying speed. It moved 3 miles east in just 4 hours. It jumped the Sacramento River.
It jumped a river?
I'm crazy. It's already jumped the river. There's a reservoir right there where that giant smoke is. It's on the reservoir side. I'm out of here.
Evacuation orders went out to 38,000 residents.
A wall of flames takes down everything in its path. Tonight, a staggering new count. Hundreds of homes destroyed, thousands more threatened. The all-night battle to stop the fire raging in Reading.
Firefighters scrambled to keep pace with a fire that was now outrunning almost every response. For people in its path, the science didn't matter anymore. Zita Bila, who lived in the Lake Keswick Estates neighborhood of Reading, did not receive her evacuation order until she could already see the flames. There was only one road out of her neighborhood. It was backed up with cars. She told her children to pray. She recalls feeling the heat through her windows as she waited in traffic, watching the fire close in from behind. They made it out, barely. Several miles to the north,
I don't reluctant to ask this, is when these wildfires happen on such a large scale and they move so quickly, is there a very real chance of people being caught up in these fires? Oh gosh, it's too horrible to think about. She could feel the heat through the car windows.
81-year-old Don Smith, a contract bulldozer operator, was working to cut a fire line above the Spring Creek Reservoir when the fire overran his position. A crew chief made multiple radio attempts to reach him, urging him to get out. 2 firefighters tried to reach him on foot. The encroaching flames forced them back. 4 helicopters dropped water through the smoke and fire around his last known location. The pilots had to guess. They couldn't see the ground. It was so hot that one helicopter's temperature warning light flicked on, and at 6:08 p.m., it was forced to land. Don Smith and his open cab bulldozer were nowhere to be found. CAL FIRE spokesman Scott McLean summed up what crews were facing that evening. The fire was moving so fast, he said, that law enforcement was doing evacuations as fast as they could. There was little anyone could do to slow it down. But something else was beginning to happen above the fire. Something that very few people on the ground had ever witnessed before, and something that none of them had a name for yet. As the Carr fire exploded in intensity on the evening of July 26th, it began releasing enormous amounts of heat energy into the atmosphere far above it. That heat drove powerful columns of hot gas and smoke rising rapidly into the sky. At around 7:20 p.m., those columns punched through a layer of stable air above them and burst into the upper atmosphere. Within just 15 minutes, the updrafts doubled in height, shooting from 6 miles to 12 miles above the Earth. They reached an altitude of 39,000 feet, above the cruising altitude of commercial aircraft. This triggered the formation of what scientists call a pyrocumulonimbus, or pyro-CB, essentially a fire-generated thunderstorm cloud. The fire was no longer just burning, it was creating its own weather system. As the massive cloud grew, it began stretching the column of air below it, concentrating existing rotation near the surface. Wind shear near the ground, areas where air was blowing in sharply different directions at different heights, combined with the enormous updraft to rapidly organize that rotation into a coherent, intensifying vortex.
I'm going to use the word again. That's apocalyptic. That looks like doomsday. Oh, it's a stupid question to even say. What would you have thought looking out your window at that? Obviously, at this point, I imagine an awful lot of people are aware it's a forest fire, but it's just it's heart-wrenching just seeing that in the landscape.
This was no longer just a wildfire. It was becoming something else, a tornado. The fire tornado began touching down near Land Park in Reading at approximately 7:30 p.m. At its base, it measured 1,000 feet across. It reached an estimated height of 18,000 feet into the sky. The winds inside measured 143 miles per hour, the equivalent of an EF3 tornado, strong enough to level homes.
Oh my
The temperature
gosh.
within the vortex reached an estimated 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit. For reference, that is roughly the melting point of steel. The footage...
Hang on. So the damage that this fire tornado has caused, did it melt steel? Or is it... I don't know. Oh, yeah, that's not a stupid question, did it? Could you see the effects of it? Was it like leaving melted steel in its wake?
captured that night looks like something pulled straight out of hell.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Oh.
It was the strongest tornado of any kind ever recorded in the history of California, and only the second true fire tornado ever scientifically documented anywhere in the world.
The second fire tornado documented in the world. Okay, so the first for America, though. Where would the other one have taken place, do you think? Maybe that's how long.
After one observed during the 2003 Canberra bushfires in Australia.
Okay,
As it moved,
yeah,
it left a damage path that looked nothing like a wildfire and everything like a violent tornado.
Oh.
Trees were debarked and snapped. Ground scouring appeared beneath the vortex. Soil stripped from the earth exactly as it is beneath the most violent conventional storms. Massive electrical transmission towers, engineered to withstand extreme loads, collapsed. A steel pipe was found wrapped around a tree.
No.
Homes that the fire itself had not touched were still destroyed, roofs torn off, walls blown out by winds that had no business existing inside a wildfire. 3 bulldozer operators, Don Andrews, Terry Cummings, and Jimmy Jones, were suddenly engulfed while working nearby. All 3 machines had their windows shatter simultaneously as rocks, burning embers, and debris bombarded the cabs.
Oh gosh.
This is nuts.
911, your emergency.
I'm in a dozer on Buenaventura up by Lake Avenue. All the windows got blown out. I got my curtains down. I don't know if you guys behind me are alive. I can't last too long here.
Okay, if you can get out safely, get out, okay?
I can't. You know, I have to have a ride out of here. It's all on fire around me. Can I give you my wife's phone number? Tell her I love her.
Oh. It doesn't even like that. The hellscape that is outside here. It doesn't even look like. It doesn't look like our planet. It looks like someone's just put him on, like, I don't know, like Venus or somewhere. It's just, it's barren. It is a hellscape. He sounded very collected during this conversation because I would be hysterical, I think, at this point. Oh, he just wanted his wife to know that he loved her.
All 3 survived, barely.
Oh, okay.
Unbeknownst to all of them, less than a mile away, a Reading fire inspector had already radioed his final transmission. Jeremy Stoke was 37 years old. He was a fire prevention inspector with the Reading Fire Department. Not a firefighter on the line, but a man whose job that evening was to drive through neighborhoods and make sure people had gotten out. When the Carr fire ignited on July 23rd, Jeremy had been on vacation. He cut it 4 days short. He volunteered to come back. When the fire transitioned to wind-driven and began racing toward the city on the evening of July 26th, Jeremy was already on the street. He was not fighting the fire. He was protecting people from it. At 7:39 p.m., with the fire tornado bearing down on Buenaventura Boulevard, Jeremy radioed his mayday. He stated his location. He asked for a water drop. He said he was getting burned over. There was no response. The official CAL FIRE investigation concluded that Jeremy Stoke suffered fatal traumatic injuries when entrapped in the fire tornado while engaged in community protection operations. He was located in the early morning hours of July 27th. He was the first firefighter in documented history to lose their life to a fire tornado. His colleagues described him as someone who cared deeply about the people of Reading. His final act was driving toward danger to make sure his neighbors had made it out. They had. He had not. Jeremy was not the only one lost that evening. When the smoke finally cleared, a pilot spotted Don's bulldozer from the air. It had been completely engulfed. There was no sign of the protective metallic fire shelter that firefighters deploy as a last resort. Don Smith did not survive. Both deaths, Jeremy's and Don's, occurred within an hour and 50 minutes along a single 3-mile stretch of the Carr fire. Meanwhile, in a quiet residential neighborhood on the northern edge of the fire's path, the tornado's wind field was sweeping over homes that had nothing to do with the fire line. Ed Bledsoe had evacuated earlier that day, but his wife, Melody Bledsoe, 70 years old, had been unable to leave in time. Ed Bledsoe later told reporters that Melody had been on the phone with him as it happened. She told him the tornado was directly overhead. Those were among her last words. When Ed was finally able to return, nothing was left.
I was talking to my little grandson on the phone. He's saying, "Grandpa, please, you got to come and help us. The fire's at the back door." I said, "I'm right by you, honey. Just hold on. Grandpa's coming."
Oh, gosh, don't.
Melody Bledsoe and her 2 young great-grandchildren didn't make it.
Oh, my.
In total, the Carr Fire tornado directly claimed 4 lives. The Carr Fire as a whole claimed 8, destroyed 1,604 structures, burned 229,651 acres, and caused over $1.6 billion in damage. By 8 p.m. on July 26th, the fire tornado had dissipated. It had been on the ground for approximately 30 minutes. The Carr fire itself continued burning for 5 more weeks, finally contained on August 30th. By then, entire neighborhoods of Reading were gone, half of the historic town of French Gulch, all but 2 houses in Keswick. Communities across Shasta and Trinity counties had been permanently changed. In the scientific community, the event generated immediate and significant research. A study published in Geophysical Research Letters documented the fire tornado in detail, finding that it formed through processes nearly identical to conventional tornado dynamics. Not simply a product of fire heat, but a genuine atmospheric vortex driven by a fire-generated supercell. The authors concluded that radar data had contained advance indicators of the vortex that could, in the future, be used to issue warnings. Jeremy Stokes' name is now written into wildfire training materials across California. The way fire agencies plan for extreme fire behavior, particularly the danger to personnel who are nowhere near a fire line, was changed by what happened on Buenaventura Boulevard. Before July 26, 2018, the idea of a fire generating its own tornado was something most people would have called impossible. After Reading, it became something fire crews across the American West now plan for, train for, and watch for at the start of every fire season. Because the conditions that created it, the heat, the drought, the wind shear, the fuel, are not gone.
No.
They are still there.
But you can't control all of them. That was a perfect storm that, resulted in this fire tornado. It couldn't have really been helped. It was unforeseen. You've just got a perfect storm of, contributing factors, and because you can't stop them all from happening. I suppose the only thing you can really do is just be as prepared as you can should they happen.
Every summer, firefighters know how to fight fire. They know how to read wind, but nobody taught them how to survive a tornado made of both.
No.
After July 26th, 2018, because now they know it can happen, and the next time it happens, they may not get a warning either. If you made it this far, thank you for being here. These stories take time to research, write, and edit, and every single view, like, and comment helps keep them going. So if you want to see more documentaries like this, consider subscribing and leaving a like. It genuinely makes a difference. And to everyone already supporting the channel, whether you've been here from the start or just joined recently, thank you. You're the reason these stories get told. Stay alert, and I'll see you in the next one. July.
It's just unbelievable. I think sometimes the people that kind of write scripts or stories for horror films, they try and combine the unthinkable, the most, I'm sure they must think, what's the scariest thing imaginable? And we'll take that, and then we'll combine it, and then we've got a terrifying story. It feels like that. Do you know what I mean? It feels like we've got a tornado. They are terrifying. They are so destructive. And then we have forest fires. Again, terrifying, unbelievably destructive. And what happens when they combine? It's almost unbelievable. And I'm sure a lot of people felt the same before this actually happened. How do you even prepare for it? I have absolutely no idea. Is that the only time this has happened? I know they said there was another one. The first ever recorded one was in Australia. Has there been any more since? Because I know Australia, similar to the US, forest fires they take place a lot more frequently than they do in the likes of the UK, And, when we experience them, they are on a smaller scale. They're generally not that widespread, you know, we're a tiny little island with not an awful lot of wild places, you know, so even if it did spread, it's relatively contained, I would assume anyway. But have they happened since, these fire tornadoes? Gosh, I hope not. Oh my gosh. I actually thought tornadoes couldn't get scarier. They can. You just have to introduce another element to them. Oh gosh, that's gonna give me nightmares. Well, thank you for requesting this terrifying story, Soy. It's very sad. Honestly, guys, my heart just bleeds for the people that passed away in their family, and for everyone whose homes would have been damaged during this. It's horrendous. Well, I hope you found that as interesting as I did, guys. Take care of yourselves. Hopefully this doesn't also give you nightmares. Take care of yourselves, my lovelies, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.